Darius would never face Alexander again. As Alexander pushed deeper into the Persian Empire, he learned the great king had been betrayed. One of Darius's own commanders, Bessus, had arrested him. When Alexander's army closed in, Bessus fled, leaving Darius mortally wounded in a wagon. Alexander arrived too late. The king he had chased across half the world was dying. According to ancient sources, Alexander covered Darius with his own cloak. He ordered that the Persian king be buried with full royal honors. His greatest enemy had earned his respect. Most men would have declared victory. Alexander kept marching. East. Always east. Across deserts, across mountains, across rivers no Greek army had ever crossed before. The farther he marched, the harder the fighting became. Gone were the massive Persian armies. Now he faced guerrilla warfare. Enemies who struck without warning, then disappeared into the mountains. It was here that Alexander met Roxana, the daughter of a local nobleman. She would become his wife. Around this time, Alexander also captured the Sogdian Rock, a mountain fortress its defenders claimed could only be taken if soldiers had wings. Alexander's response was simple. He found men who could climb. Under the cover of darkness, his soldiers scaled the impossible cliffs. By sunrise, they stood above the fortress. Turns out, wings weren't necessary. Then Alexander reached India. Waiting for him was King Porus. Unlike Darius, Porus didn't run. He brought something the Macedonians had barely encountered before: war elephants. Imagine seeing a living wall of armored elephants charging toward you. Many of Alexander's horses had never seen anything like them. The Battle of the Hydaspes River became one of the hardest fights of Alexander's life. It lasted for hours. Rain poured down. The ground turned to mud. Elephants crashed through formations. But once again, Alexander adapted. The Macedonians isolated the elephants, attacked their handlers, forced the exhausted animals back into their own lines. Eventually, Porus was defeated. Captured, Alexander asked him one simple question: "How should I treat you?" Porus answered, "Like a king." Alexander smiled. "And that is exactly how I will treat you." Instead of taking Porus's kingdom, Alexander allowed him to keep ruling it as an ally. But victory came at a cost.
You saved me again, old friend. I am nothing without you, Bucephalus. Rest now.
Bucephalus, the horse that had carried Alexander for nearly 20 years, died. Alexander founded another city, Bucephala, named after his oldest companion. Then Alexander looked east. Again, beyond India lay lands the Greeks knew almost nothing about. He wanted to keep going. His army did not. After nearly 10 years of campaigning, thousands of kilometers from home, the Macedonians had finally reached their limit. They refused to march another step. For 3 days, Alexander stayed inside his tent, waiting, hoping they would change their minds. They didn't. For the first time in his entire career, Alexander lost. Not to an enemy, to his own men. Alexander turned his army toward home. But even then, he refused to take the easy route. Instead, he chose to cross the Gedrosian Desert, one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. Why? Historians still debate it. Some believe he wanted to outdo every conqueror before him. Others think he simply underestimated the journey. Whatever the reason, the desert became one of his greatest defeats. The heat was relentless. Water was almost impossible to find. Thousands never made it out. At one point, a soldier managed to collect a small helmet filled with water. He offered it to Alexander. Alexander looked at his exhausted army. Then he poured the water onto the sand. If his soldiers couldn't drink, neither would he. Even now, after years of conquest, they followed him. Not because they had to, because they believed in him. Eventually, Alexander reached Babylon. He was only 32 years old. Most people would have spent the rest of their lives ruling the greatest empire on earth. Alexander was already planning his next campaign. Arabia. Maybe farther. Then, without warning, he became ill. Ancient sources describe a sudden fever. Days passed. The fever worsened. Soon, the man who had crossed continents could no longer stand. His soldiers filed silently past his bed, one by one. The man they had followed to the edge of the known world could no longer speak to them. In June 323 BC, Alexander died. He was 32 years old. His cause of death remains unknown. Disease, typhoid, malaria. Other illnesses have been suggested. Some even claimed poison. But after more than 2,000 years, no one knows for certain. According to later tradition, when asked who should inherit his empire, Alexander answered, "To the strongest." Whether he actually said those words is uncertain. But what happened next is not. His generals turned on one another. The empire he had spent 13 years building fractured. Kingdom by kingdom, war by war. Alexander's empire didn't survive him, but his legacy did. Cities he founded still exist. His battles are still studied in military academies. His tactics still influence commanders more than 2 millennia later. Julius Caesar once stood before a statue of Alexander and wept. Not because Alexander had failed, but because by the same age, Alexander had conquered most of the known world. Napoleon carried books about Alexander through his own campaigns. Countless generals tried to imitate him. None became him. Imagine conquering almost the entire known world before your 30th birthday. Imagine never losing a single battle. Imagine changing history so completely that more than 2,000 years later, the world still remembers your name. His empire fell. His legend never did. History remembers many kings. History remembers many conquerors. But only one man earned a title that history itself refused to take away. Alexander the Great.